We have, hello, bene, okay. We have to start again because otherwise we get too compressed with the agenda. Can we ask the people outside to come in quickly? Cazzo. Sì, non ce l'ho. Yeah. Yes, let's start. Okay, let's start with the second part of the morning, where we are going to have more presentation regarding the communication, first of all, and then we are going to have some representative of institution to come and give their point of view on what's happening in Brussels. As we said, PETCORE is a bridge between the business and the institutions, and now, as of this, it means that we need to communicate more as PETCORE Europe, and we have to advocate more. So we are touching base on communication, and then on the advocacy side. From the communication, I'm calling on the stage Tania Ferlin from Asking Technology, Dominic Phil from Plastic is a Fantastic Association, and Kitsa Sutton from Plastipack. Okay. So, Dominique, I think the stage is yours. We start with your presentation.
Let's give it a go. So what we wanted to do today is giving you like a little bit of a framing. So I need to jump back even once more. What is the message on the market that you always see day in and day out? So first message is always we are drowning in plastics, right? The second one is plastics are not recycled. They just end up on the landfill. Then another message. When it's not on the landfill, it just gets thrown into the ocean, where plastics harms the ecosystems and ocean creatures. Then also something that gets thrown on us that the media says every one of us consumes 1 credit card worth of microplastics every week, which actually would take between 15,000 and 20,000 years according to data. And the enemy and the evil of all that is mainly PET. Why is that? Because it's a super big business for the NGOs out there to get funding on board, obviously. And when you look at the facts, they're mainly on our side. But strangely enough, we got pushed into a corner now for many, many years. And this is why it's super important as an industry to step up. So we have already some initiatives in place that are super, super highly effective. And this is what we want to discuss today on our panel.
Okay. So this is the question that we have. What is the single biggest challenge for the plastic and PET industry today? Technology, regulation, communication, or a combination of them? So let's open the discussion.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm from Plastipack. We manufacture virgin resin, we recycle resin, and we also we're a converter. I don't think there is one single biggest challenge. I think we've got a real headwind of numerous challenges. Biggest one probably at the moment is regulatory. We've talked a lot already about PPWR, but let's not forget about CSRD, which is largely going to be around decarbonisation, and that is a major issue for our industry. We've got our consumers, the anti-plastics brigade, really strong still. Went into a shop yesterday with Tanya, was really quite surprised at the amount of aluminium cans on the shelves. And yeah, they compete in materials from glass. When we talk about reuse, our customers are talking to us straight away about glass. We need to be out there fighting the cause for PET reuse as well. So not one challenge, but a number. And we've got a big fight ahead of us.
Yes, and when we talk especially about communications, what I saw over the last years when we stepped into the game of really stepping or getting more active, first as Alpla, is that we were sleeping for, as I said, for decades, right? Yeah. So no one took on the challenge, but it's super, super important. And when I look at the question here, and I see it, technology and regulation is actually always influenced by communication, by the narrative that is out there in the market. That's why we need to really, really step up as an industry and be more progressive, communicating about the facts, because we got so much pushed into our corner by the NGOs, and the facts are on our side. So we were, when we started our campaigns, right, in the beginning, we were so afraid that we got some pushback, but no one can say something against us, right? And this gives us and me confidence to get more and more active every year and scale up our communication efforts. They're crucial for me and also for the industry, because when we don't do anything, I think our business will even suffer more in future.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. My opinion, I think our industry, we have a major PR problem. And I think that's kind of one of the macro trends that we all need to acknowledge. And just the fact that this room right now, I understand that it's right after the break, it's half empty, maybe some folks think, oh, communication, that's not my field, that's not my area, I'm not gonna join this session. I just wanna highlight that, which is a big mistake. And I think that is the biggest challenge of our industry. Not just that we have this really big negative plastic perception that it's a really bad material from a consumer perspective. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that our industry to date hasn't taken action to collaborate, to work together, to effectively change that negative narrative. And so I'm from Husky Technologies. We don't produce plastic. We don't produce plastic products. We produce the machines and the molds and technologies that are used to create this plastic preform, the PET preform used for bottles primarily. But we recognize that if we don't start investing now as a company, as an industry together to address that negative narrative and at least try to change it to a positive one, we're going to have major issues like what we just all saw earlier this morning, grim, negative trends, but on a longer term. So I'm just curious, for everyone in the audience, I've been with Husky for 4 years. I know I'm super new to the industry, but how many of you have been in the industry for more than 5 years? Raise your hand. More than 5 years. Okay, so like most of you. More than 10 years. More than 10 years. More than 20 years. Anyone more than 20 years? There's still a lot of hands. More than 30 years. Who has been in the industry more than 30 years? Oh my God, that is amazing. So that is like my goal. I would love to still continue to work in a thriving, innovative industry 30 years from now. But are we going to have that if we don't address the communication and PR challenge? I don't know. That's why we need your help. But okay, I'll stop there.
Okay, very good. And do you think that we are still on time to close the gap between what we should have been doing some years ago and what the market or the situation is requiring now? You have this Plastic is Fantastic association that is somehow pushing NGO to be more factual. Do you think that you have the tools to achieve some targets, or how do you see? Is the mission impossible? Do we have some hope?
I would say it's not a mission impossible at all. So what we really see is that when we run the campaigns that, the people accept it because it's based on facts. So they should, everyone that has a clear mind accepts the facts. But the special thing is you need to communicate it in an easy and understandable way. That's the secret sauce. That's the recipe behind it. When you do this, then I'm super confident, and also we get super good acknowledgement from the industry, but also from people outside of the industry already. So I'm quite confident to really give it a push into the right direction in future.
And if I may add,
please.
Antonella, you just reminded me of a quote. When is the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago. When is the second best time? Today.
Sure.
Right? And I think even though we have a lot of catching up to do, I think we still definitely, we know the tool, we have the tools, we know what to do, and it's just a matter of taking action. And another quote I've heard of our industry as well is that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We're on the menu. Like we've been on the menu for a while. So it's time for us to get a seat at the table and take action now.
Please.
Also to unite as an industry, that's super important, right? It's not that just one company starts an activity, communicates, and the other say, that was started by this company, I don't want to be part of it. It made us that everyone steps in and we work together, because what you said is, otherwise, at one point, we always like playing the game of the second slowest zebra. So another zebra gets eaten by a lion, but maybe we are the next. So it's super important to unite. So that's crucial for the future.
Okay, very good. And to be active on communication, there is a need of resources. Where do you think that we should or we could get more resources? I know that all the people here in the audience is willing to contribute personally, but what else should we do?
But actually, one comment from my side, it's also super important that you start on a personal level at first, that you maybe start liking, sharing content that is out there on LinkedIn, so that you can take your sister or brother-in-law that is super green at home and pushes you into a corner and says, plastic is just stupid. So that's why I also started. It was my private motivation. I was in a bar many years, and then I got super attacked by some people and said, you are working for the plastics industry, you're the biggest creep on earth. And I said, no, the facts speak another story. So that's super important. It starts on a personal level, and then you can scale up. Then you learn, and this is super important. There's a learning curve behind it. Okay. It's not perfect from the start, but you learn and get better and better and more effective every time.
Very good. Dominique, you want to give us some indication on plastic is fantastic?
Yeah, we have it in the
okay,
slides.
Please.
But we have some other
Okay.
Questions prepared
Please.
here, some examples that we can give, right?
So let's go around. Kinder.
Dominic's already mentioned LinkedIn. We have some great influencers in our industry, and we need to really highlight them. We need to like their content, repost their content. One of the influencers that PlastiPack works with to help educate our audience, internal audience, is Chris Diarmid. He is an independent guy. He fights back all these media stories with actual scientific reports. He rebuts scientific reports where he sees no foundation. He's a really powerful advocate for our business. This is where we all need to work together. When we talk about competition, we tend to look at each other in this room. Our real competition is glass and aluminium. We need to collaborate as an industry to fight that competition so that we can ensure our long-term survival. We've got some real challenges at the moment, some real commercial challenges. My concern is that we're going to focus too much on the short-term challenges and take our eye off the long-term challenge, which is our own long-term survival. And we can only do that by cross-industry collaboration right across the value chain.
Okay, thanks. Tanya, you want to add something on the...
Sure. I'll just do a call out now to PETCORE's Recycle the One campaign. If you're not a member or contributing to PETCORE's Recycle the One, highly recommend that you do. It's directly targeting EU audiences, both policymakers and consumers, and it's reaching consumers where they're at, so on TikTok, for example. And on TikTok and Instagram, the campaign has already reached over 12 million views, and they're on other social channels as well. So that's been a hugely successful campaign so far, specifically in Europe. And we're always looking for more funders, because that way we can make a bigger impact and reach even more.
No, I'd just like to add that Recycle One is led by Colm Jordan from Indorama. He's also an absolutely fantastic influencer. There he is. So please do like and follow Colm, as well as Tanya here as well. So really great content. We really do need more funding for Recycle the One. As well as reaching consumers, it's also reaching the Brussels bubble, and it's been very influential in shifting policy a little bit more in plastics' favourable direction. So if there's any one message I'd like to say today is, as companies, please do consider, if you are not already participating, engaging with and financing the Recycle the One campaign.
Okay.
100%.
Sorry, I would like to pose a question to the audience. Who of you is aware of Recycling the One campaign? So,
I think that shows the
there
challenge
is
we've got.
some room for improvement. This is a campaign that is self-funded by some of the members of PETCORE, and we strongly invite all of you, first of all, to check out the campaign and then to become a co-founder of the campaign itself, because communicate is expensive. As Tanya mentioned, we are having a fantastic result, but we need more resources to be more audible, to reach more targets.
Maybe to make everything a little bit more tangible, because we're always talking about campaigns and we need money and it's important, right? So what's really behind it? What we developed under Recycle the One, but also with plastic, is fantastic. We started to engage with end consumers. That was unheard of. When I really started in this business and in marketing many years ago, we were always talking, when we saw these images that I presented, we were always talking, yeah, but we can recycle the material. That's the second communication layer. That's actually just a solution. What we need to do, we need to showcase how can a PET bottle plastic improve the life of an end consumer. What are examples? Plastic is much lighter than other materials. It doesn't shatter and break. It can even protect your family. And this is the emotional part, right? So then it also creates emotions, because when you have the dead whale on the beach, and you come as an industry and you say, yeah, but we can recycle the material, that's super lame. No one will accept it. But when you showcase the advantage of PET and plastics out there, then people accept it, and they accept it already, and this is the secret sauce behind it. It's about creating emotions towards the end consumers and showcasing them why plastic is part of their life and should be part of their life in future.
Okay, very good. Do we have other questions? Why does the industry need to act together now, and what happens if we don't? I think we already covered this question. So let's go to the next. Okay. Please, now it's up to you to explain.
Okay. So, as also Kinzo said, we and Tanya and Colin, we started the Recycle the One campaign many, many years ago, right? And there we had a steep learning curve, because what we did there for the first time, we were sitting together with behavioral economics, and we were discussing with them, how can we really move the needle when we speak to like end consumers. And there, for the first time, we applied these behavioral economic mechanisms and weaved them into the campaigns, and they are much more or easier understandable for end consumers than they were in the past. When we were always talking about recycling, we can recycle the material. It shows the material in the daily use. It shows how it can really improve your life. And we in Alpla, so I'm also like heading the global marketing in Alpla, we started to also apply this principle internally, and then we started slowly but surely campaigns around the globe. Currently we're running like 25 campaigns around the globe. They have different names. They don't run under plastic is fantastic. Plastic is fantastic. It's also a name that we came up because we said we need to get more emotion into the whole topic. We also need to be proud as an industry, because many people in the past said, oh, I'm working in the plastic industry, I don't know what to say. No, plastic is fantastic. When you handle it correctly, it's an enabler, not an enemy. And yeah, nowadays we have a fast-growing like campaign set in plastic is fantastic alone. We have now, it's even more. I think currently we crossed the 1.5 billion follower mark, and we have 500 million plus impressions already. So it's a substantial number. And this is there a super important detail. So PET is the most recycled material out there. It's a super great material, but as I presented in the intro, it's always a symbol of the evil, right? And when you position yourself as the PET industry as the best under the worst, it's still a super stupid positioning out there on the market. That's why we started Plastic is Fantastic, to have this global narrative reset, and we just talk about not just packaging, medical, automotive, everywhere where plastic is applied, and this really resonates with the people out there.
And Dominic, you just reminded me of another point I wanted to make around the talent attraction and
Yes.
young people being interested in working in our industry. I've spoken to so many industry hiring managers that say, when I interview young people under the age of 25, they'll say, you know what, I don't know if I want to work in the plastics industry because I don't know if there is going to be an industry in 10 years. So that's another reason why it's so important for us to change that negative narrative. And just one distinction here, so PET, End Waste Recycle the One is Europe focused, whereas Plastic is Fantastic is a much more broader global campaign. So thinking about your businesses and where it's important to you, where you have presence, where you have customers, that's kind of a distinction that might be important. And another point I wanted to make is that Kinza, Dominic, and I, and some colleagues have a booth just outside if you wanted to learn more about Recycle the One or Plastic is Fantastic, how you can get involved. Please reach out to us directly. Please come see us at our booth. We're here today and tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
Would love to speak with you.
I'd just like to make one final point. At the moment, PET has the carbon advantage against other materials. Aluminium is subject now to carbon taxes, and they're moving rapidly to decarbonise their industry. We now need to collaborate across our value chain to decarbonise our industry so we do not lose that advantage that we have. And that's another form of collaboration that we need to do together. Plastipack, 65% of our emissions across scope 1, 2 and 3, 65% is resin. How can we work as a value chain to decarbonise that figure? So that's my final point.
Okay, very good.
Can I say
Sure.
just one word? For me, super important is proactivity. Have all like the content that we have already created is available to the public, so we're already proactive. Many years ago, we were just reactive. We got in a panic mode, right?
Correct.
And this is why it's so important that you collaborate with us, that we get more funding to spread the word.
Yes, very good. Candy, any other point you want to add? I think.
I'd just like to say carbon taxes are coming, so we need to be proactive, so carbon taxes hit us later rather than sooner. But yeah, let's keep an eye. We've got a lot of commercial pressures, I know, but we need to put that investment into decarbonising so that we can protect our industry for the long term.
Okay, any other point that you want to make? Tanya, you have anything? So I have one point from myself that is a very clear message. If you don't enroll into the campaign, no lunch for you today. So, no, we really need everybody's support. And this, I would thank Tanya, Dominique, Kinda for all the job we're doing together with Column, because we did in another part of my life a lot of communication, and the achievement that we achieved, the target that we achieve with Recycle the One are far, far higher than what we did in the previous campaign, looking at the resources we have. So please check the campaign and become a supporter. Thanks so much. Thank you all. Then, now I think that we have, following up on communication, is the advocacy part. So I'm asking Hermes and Carolina to come on the stage. Well, you can stay, yes.
It's working. Okay. Good afternoon. So I'm Hermes Panagiotopoulos, working for Indorama Ventures, but I'm chairing the advocacy working group at PETCORE. First of all, congratulations for the venue. I really like it, and it's a very good opportunity to go out of Brussels, even though the weather didn't change so much. But and I would suggest that as long as we have this Italian leadership from Antonello and Roberto, we can have it in Rome. Why not?
It depends. It was so heavy to organize, but let's discuss.
Yes. So, advocacy working group. First of all, the slides are, yes, it's not the right one, but it doesn't matter. So, first of all, I wanted to mention something, why we needed an advocacy working group at PETCORE. PETCORE Europe has 160, 170 members, and actually it's an old association covering the PET value chain and very, very solid on the technical side. You all know the different working groups, etc. You are all active on those. Why we needed to have an advocacy working group? And as you see, it's 2 years old baby, the advocacy working group. So actually we were late, but now we are trying to make it, to speed up a little bit, to make it a little bit more mature. And I will explain why. But the question that I have is, but wait a moment. We are technically experts on a particular subject, which is PET, either from production side, recycling, conversion, etc. Why do we need advocacy people? While we know our business, we can go to Wolfgang, who just came, and speak about it, and we can achieve the things. So first of all, because I have been in different industries, fertilizer included, and many make this mistake, and they act late, and the consequences are severe when you don't act for your own sector when it's being regulated, or when you are late. Because there are tactics in advocacy. First of all, you need to know who you speak and how you translate the argument that you will bring. Timing is very important. When? Because if you have a 360 degrees perspective, you know when to hit the right target. And last but not least, it's very important with whom you go. You go alone, PET industry, when we're discussing PPWR, all materials, etc. Here you are speaking about a particular material, or to go to other issues like CBAM that we heard this morning, that indeed, it's a very, polymers were promised to be after 2030 in order to have a level playing field, because I disagree with what I heard in the morning, that penalize is not penalization when we want to have a level playing field of when you produce in Europe and when you produce out of Europe. So it's very important to combine all these things in order to understand why the advocacy part is very, very important and to get it right. And as you see on the screen, is bridge this technical expertise with the decision maker arguments and terminology. Because if you are too technical, and of course there are technical, JRC is a very technical body of the European, the Joint Research Center, you need to speak with, but when you go to political level, at cabinet of the commissioners, you need to speak a different language. So the context of the advocacy working group is indeed to amplify the voice towards the institutions, to advance on the policy objectives, but first you need to define what are your objectives, your policy objectives, and also to define in a value chain perspective, because we have producers, recyclers, converters, users. We have totally different perspective and totally different opinion on a particular subject. So first you need to identify where there is a common opinion and then to act. But the most important, having said that you need to translate the technical language into political, the most important thing is to make PETCORE the reference of when someone is speaking about the PET value chain. And from a Commission point of view, the Commission would prefer, even though some companies have preferential access, etc., but would prefer to speak with one body representing all different interests instead of having 100 meetings of different companies and different associations. So our effort is to make PETCORE the reference. Now, the advocacy working group, what is their role? You see the internal environment and the different working groups, which create a vast of great information which needs to be used. And that's something that sometimes is overlooked. We need to use this information, not reactively, as it was mentioned before, that in the past we were reactive. You need to act before you are being legislated, regulated, etc. You need to be proactive, not reactive only, and to be a valuable partner to the Commission, who has the right of initiative, which then being voted by Parliament and Council. So that's the external environment, and the advocacy is the filter between the two. The board of PETCORE decides, the advocacy doesn't decide, it just translates the nice information that comes from a technical side into political. Now, I have two slides looking back and looking forward. So this means 2025 and 2026. Now we are in 2025, looking back. First of all, we have an advocacy working group which is 2 years old. It's been getting into maturity. We have a working group, wider group, but also we have a task force with experts, Brussels-based mostly, experts on advocacy from different sides. So we have the users, UNESDA, and Coke are present in the task force from the users, and we have producers, recyclers, etc. And there, it's the working body, in a way, task force, and then higher decisions are taken in the working group. First of all, I would like to mention that what we did in 2025, we monitored legislation and see what is the impact or opportunities for the PET value chain. And here I would like to give a credit to Cataneo Zaneto, which is helping us a lot in Brussels from an advocacy perspective, either with meetings or with the survey that you see on the second point about what are the priorities. Because as I said earlier, you need to decide how to advocate on something. We can go separately as producers or recyclers go for an anti-dumping case against China, for example, which happened. The users will not be on that boat. They will be against. That's fine. On different things, you can go vertically. Here, we are identifying where we can all go together. And that's very important. I forgot to mention earlier about the role of advocacy, and I would like to mention, because I will not mention my colleague, but I kept it in my mind that when we were discussing about advocacy, that from a business perspective, it's always about cutting fixed costs. And this will move the needle. But from a business point of view, I learned that this does not move the needle, even though we are required to do so. What moves the needle is when you go and you get the political support or the information that is not accessible to you today about other things, subsidies for the plants, for example. So it's, that's the role that the political decisions play, and regardless what you see on the other side of the Atlantic, but in general in Europe, it's playing in its own cell a critical importance, what you do with advocacy. Now, yes, what we did in 2025, we responded to public consultations, and we did a joint actions with other associations. And that's very important because that's the coalition building that, and of course, first of all, you need to have a 360 degrees perspective in Brussels, and then to do the coalition building. And also, very important, trust. As you know, it's hard to achieve and very easy to lose. This is very true in Brussels because the mandates are also very short. Apart from the Commission, civil servants, of course, that they, of course, they might move to another DG. That's another thing. But normally it's 5 years. The Parliament is 5 years. 4 years is the permanent representations that they come from the ministry of the country to Brussels, only for 4 years, and then they go back to their countries. So building those relationships, and with the member states, and with the parliament, and also with the stakeholders in the value chain from different materials as well, it's very important. The next thing, it's we held 20, we met 20 MEPs, members of the European Parliament, and 4 permanent representations, so 4 member states. That's a big jump from the previous year activity. Why? Because the elections were in June 2024, and the new MEPs, some were re-elected, but the new MEPs came in September in Brussels. So we started in the following January for 2025 to meet many of them from environment and industry committees. And also we had a high-level meeting with the cabinet of, together with Antonello in the cabinet of Roosevelt, the Environment Commissioner, with the head of cabinet, we met. And among other things, we focused very much on trace, PET trace, and the ban of proposed ban, which is passed, on PET. It passed, but is not yet defined what unprocessed fresh fruits and vegetables are. So it's a ban on single-use plastics. And here I would like to mention that as Indorama Ventures, we commissioned a study which we will, of course, share with PETCORE in order, for the time being, we are improving it with examples from different thermoforming companies, and we will give it to PETCORE because it's very important to fight something but with scientific evidence. That's very important. Now, looking forward, and that's my last slide, we continue what we did this year. We continue the monitoring. We develop targeted key messages. So that's the difference from last year. Last year, we met 20 MEPs and 4 member states. It was an awareness-raising campaign. Basically, meeting them, we are the PET value chain, we represent all this, and we discussed superficially, epidermically, about some things. Now, we are creating targeted, so to give you an idea, Circular Economy Act, which is coming Q3, Q4 this year. We give concrete examples on the way how to go about that, or other legislations. So we will create targeted per policy file. And then build the coalitions. That's something that it's in my heart, because I think when you are a small PET producer in a vast Brussels arena, you need to go together. So I would prefer being, and Carolina is here, we are board members of European, the European Packaging Association. It's very important to go together with European, which is more sectors together, to go with others. It's very, very important, and it moves the needle in Brussels. And if you take an NGO with you, it's even better. Not forget that the farmers, that they have the tractors as well. And we will participate in EU consultations like we do with, and that's what I wanted to mention, with the limited resources that we have at PETCORE. Because it's not like other associations that for advocacy, they have an army. We don't. And it's like Husky and Alpla doing the extra mile from our own companies in order for the benefit of the whole value chain. Thank you very much.
If I may resume all what has been said, because the key question could be, okay, a lot of good ideas, good actions, but what have you achieved? And there is one point that I'm very proud that PETCORE was contributing, that this was this famous ban on the stretch film around the pellets. This was eliminated, this ban, not because of PETCORE, but also because PETCORE was pushing this direction. Now, we have 2 main targets. One is the one that Hermes has just mentioned, that is the ban on trace, because we want to have something based on science and not on emotion. And the second one is what we are discussing actually with DG about the same evaluation of chemical recycling versus mechanical recycling. there is, at present, chemical recycling is not considered counting for the recycling content of packaging. And also this decision seems not to be taken on science, but on emotion. So, since behind all of this is DGN, what if now we invite our dear friend Wolfgang Trank on the podium so that we can ask all the nice questions that we have in our mind. Wolfgang, come on the stage. Wolfgang, I think you don't need any presentation, but if you want to introduce yourself, you can stay. Up to you.
What should I do now?
You have, I think everybody knows you, but if you want simply to introduce yourself.
Okay, I thought you would at first leave also the panel for the rest. Okay, yes. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here in Rome, and not only because Antonello is such a bright guy who already persuaded me since months to come to this event. Indeed, it is a very prominent place to be. Even though my schedule is extremely tight, as I will, but maybe if we go through the presentation, we can see my main babies that I try to, or my main activities that I have at the moment. So maybe you can, yes, this is what I would like to speak about in the next 15 minutes. What are we as Commission doing in terms of enhancing sustainability of the plastic value chain? The value chain is very important. Another important term on this first slide that you see already is in the title of my directorate. It's called competitive circular economy. This is quite, since 1 year, since von der Leyen 2, this is much more in the focus of our policy, even in DG Environment, that we have to also to make, to secure a competitive circular economy sector within the EU. Next slide. So I will start, no, that was 2 jumps, 1 back, yes. So what are we doing? I hope you are aware of our so-called Circular Economy Winter Package that was published just before Christmas, and it contains concrete actions from our side, and of course the hard points in such a communication. A communication is never a legal act, but it contains, it mentions the famous Single-Use Plastic Implementing Act, which should allow chemical recycling or create the framework for chemical plastic recycling. This is really our current, in my team, the current main task. We want to vote it tomorrow with the member states. We are still, it has been significantly revised over the years. I must say there were so many additional complications in this file, and I think also with what I said before about this EU focus on our industries, you are hopefully aware of our new geographical scope that we introduced now in the draft. And also the new thing is that it is only on the PET bottles, focusing on the tea. But I think the big thing is this provision where we talk about 27 until 27. It must come from EU waste, and after that there are certain conditions to be met in order to allow imports from of the recyclates from third countries. I think this is a big thing. We are positive that we will find tomorrow the famous qualified majority. It is very difficult for us because there are already some of the stakeholders that you mentioned, Hermes, before, who are working against us via small member states, but we need also to have a majority of the member states, so even Malta counts in tomorrow's vote, so I will follow it from here, the vote. But this is the overwhelming thing, and I will come back on this act later on when we talk about packaging. The next big thing is the end of waste criteria for plastic. I know how engaged PETCORE is on this file as well. We are a little bit in a difficult situation because unfortunately the work started with a mandate to the JRC to draft a report only for mechanically recycled plastics. Then we came up and said, yes, but colleagues are doing also something on textiles, which would kind of allow depolymerization to include it, but they are not yet done. Therefore, we cannot. And on the other side, we have the mechanical recyclers who push us and they bring it better today than tomorrow. So this is another big act, which is within our remits, and we are really trying hard. But I can tell you, we want to deliver it as soon as possible, but we will clarify in this that if we do not include the depolymerization, this does not mean that there are no end-of-waste criteria, national end-of-waste criteria for depolymerization possible. On the amendment of the food contact material plastic regulation, I think Bastian will come later on today, my colleague from DG Santé, so we can go to the next slide. Yes, what else is in the package? And here I come more a little bit with not with the softer ones, but with these initiatives that are not so directly leading to a legal, or they're a little bit further away. Already, what is already quite advanced are the custom codes for PET based on the food contact material legislation. I hope Bastian will also elaborate on this later on today. And then we also have the problem that apparently the established regime for the enforcement of the rules under the food contact material legislation, they are not properly enforced, and therefore there is big pressure now. Also, we are also behind the colleagues in DG Santé because they have the control structure to go there and to police better the rules. Then also something we saw some gaps or some weaknesses in the national controls, because you know the control of all these rules is competence with the member states. It's not Commission, it's the member states, and therefore we want to train them, to help them better on the one hand to fulfill their control function. And the other thing is that we in our unit, we are also trying to roll out the analytical methods to distinguish fake recyclates from real recyclates. So this is laboratories where we where we screened what is already there when it comes to PET. False claims, and what are the other polymers where we have to establish analytical methodologies to distinguish them. Then the next thing is rather, I think we also have something from a colleague from DG Trade here. This is rather to observe a little bit the market when it comes to imports. What kind of recyclates do we import? What recyclates are already incorporated in plastic products that we import, all these things. And then the last point is also in the winter package that I just want to mention here shortly. It's this trans-regional circularity hubs. that would be within the EU to have cross-border circularity hubs to boost them and to converge these activities. And here we are still struggling that we get a focus on plastic circularity for such a hub. This is a rather horizontal. The winter package is pretty much focusing on plastics, but this issue there we still have, me as new plastic team leader in DG Environment, is really something where we still have to do some work within the Commission that this circularity hub is also covering plastics. Next slide, please. Now I come probably to the packaging regulation, and here this is also as we speak, or as I speak, we are really in the final phase of coming up with this package. Initially it was called end of January package. Now we are already a week older, so we want to come up as Commission with some, on the one hand, some support for the industries to transit to the new rules by a Commission notice. I will elaborate a little bit on the Commission notice, but also by a frequently asked FAQ document. This is just, this has not, let's say, this strong Commission adoption, college adoption character like the Commission notice. The notice will be published in the official journal. The FAQ document will be on our homepage, will be a living document. You can also complain that one answer is not good, and then we can update it always. And then the famous delegated act on the pallet wrappings and straps. It is there, it's safe, it's there, but it's not yet adopted because we just put it on hold until to package it with the other two documents. Next slide. Yeah. Just what is in the Commission notice, as you are here, PETCORE, you have the single-use packaging bans in Annex 5, notably the in-situ consumption. We have a chapter on PFAS. We have on definitions, are syringes packaging or not? Next slide. So these are 8. Next slide, please. These are 8 topics that are just the most prominent ones, but for you maybe important. It's mainly PP, the sales packaging used for transporting products in terms of reuse targets, and then I think we can go to the next slide. I think this is on PFAS. Just if you next slide, please. Okay. Yes, just a special on PFAS. We have 2 problems on PFAS. First of all, the hard date of next August for the entry into force. If you place before placing on the e-market is a decisive date. Before something, it must not yet comply, because before 12th of August, it must not yet comply with the PFAS limits, but after, as of the 30th, let's say the filler is the manufacturer, and he must place on the market only compliant. So this is the deadline issue, but the even bigger issue is the methodology. We do not have a harmonized methodology for PFAS analytics, which is a big problem. So we are, as Commission, we took the lead, even though it is on the one hand the industry who has to produce compliant packaging, and on the other hand it's the member state who have to do the market surveillance. So we bring them together, and we striving for a common testing protocol, and also for the guidelines for the risk-based sampling. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, on I can continue also because I know that just a few slides. What are we prioritizing in terms of our implementation work on the packaging? You have the EPR system is not so interesting for you. This will be the first act coming still in the first quarter of 26. Next slide. All right. I thought this would be maybe also. Yes, and then we have the famous labeling, waste sorting labelings in the first moment. This will come in the, let's say, in the third quarter. And then next slide, the big thing is at the end of the year, the recycled content acts. And there we are talking about 3 acts. Next slide, please. We are talking about 3 acts, one on the, let's say, the similar case that is tomorrow voted for single-use plastic, the methodology, and here, and I will come later on this, and then we have to come up with sustainability criteria for plastic recycling and the famous Equivalence Act, which is also for imports. Next slide. Yeah, for these 3 acts, we created already a working group with the member states because I just explained implementing acts must go through the TAC. We have to have a qualified majority by the member states, so we created a task force, a work group to move on these Article 7 Recycled Content Acts. Next slide. Yeah, the work plan is that we will we are on our way to come up with the first draft methodology, and then yes, on the methodology for the recycled content, the act tomorrow, we of course have to take into account what is happening under SUPD, but we have in packaging, we have these additional elements that play into that in that context. Next slide. I think I have, yes, this is just for you. The design for recycling is also something interesting there. We are also on track. I get every day, I just answered an email before on already the industries complaining about what Senelec produced until now. Next slide. I think, yes. Now, just a few words on other areas. You might be aware that also in the end-of-life vehicles, we have, of course, a plastic recycling content rule. And next slide, it's just a little bit about to give you a glimpse that we are also in DG Environment, in our directorate, trying to have a holistic approach over the different legislation when it comes to plastic recycling or circularity. Next slide is just about still ELV, about always the fight that we have when we come with a recycled content target that some people say, or some lobbies say, that there is not enough recyclate on the market to cope with these targets. Next slide. So this was about ELV, another area which where there is an interface or there is something on is the textiles. Next slide. And of course, there is also a lot of polyester. So here we are talking about the ESPR legislation, and here we are waiting for, just as we also, let's say, in the middle of the year, we expect finally the JRC report for the sustainability criteria, which then also includes something on recycled content in textiles. Yeah. And now I'm already, sorry for being a little bit over time, Antonello, my take-home messages. So when it comes to circular plastic, we have the most advanced legislation on SUPD and on PPWR. Our core principle in all, let's say, circularity measures is, first of all, the waste hierarchy. And this we have especially to highlight in the context of chemical recycling. Secondly, resource efficiency or also strategic autonomy. And the third element, and this is again now a little bit the industry policy aspect, that we have to ensure a smooth transition to the new rule and no disruptions in supply chains or also in business cases. Lessons learned from what I, on my own PPWR realized, or an SUPD, is that we need a strategic approach to ensure competitive EU value chain in view, on the one hand, of related EU legislation, like the waste shipment regulation with the plastic ban, export ban, and so on, but also international commitments and international realities. So we cannot, what we saw on if you have a pull, if you install a pull mechanism like recycled content, you also have to have the whole picture in the whole markets on the screen. Yes, so we are also aware that the implementing legislation is very challenging to balance out the granularity of a certain measure, because we are also confronted with a lot of criticism about overburdening the industry, administrative burden on the, but on the other side, the request to be precise, and so therefore this is also a balance act. And then, but I want also to reassure you that the stakeholders are in the whole process, not only in packaging and SOPD, closely involved. You are well aware about the open public consultations, but also, and this is my mantra, that this waste expert group, I really consider this is a very good source of information for the Commission to come up with these secondary legislation. I personally do not rather than mandating a consultant to come up with some technical support or even our JRC, I rather would in the future more count on good contributions from the waste expert group when in our preparation phase of these delegated and implementing acts. And then again, the last point, with this helicopter view on the politics, plastics, circularity, we are in an evolutionary process. What we just see, what happened over the last year on the Single-Use Plastic Chemical Recycling Act, and all this, what happens there, feeds into the next step will be the packaging recycled content acts, and so we are in this changing environment, and we want to have a state-of-the-art legislation which also is in line with the political environment. And this was my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Yes. Thank you so much. You want to sit? Have a seat, or whatever you want. I just want to remind all of you that I will put my own questions, but if you have any questions, you will have many questions. You can use a Slido. I have seen some of them, but if you want to ask something to Mr. Trump, please go ahead. First of all, thank you so much. You have been, in my personal opinion, ultra clear. In terms of the priorities and the vast amount of work that you are doing to drive around the priorities that we have identified as an industry. So I really want to also say that because it's amazing all what's going on. And I want to reiterate that point because, I mean, we are in a crossroads situation, as you know very well, right? So we are, as you say, if you put in a helicopter view of Europe versus the world, and the ICES team that did that exercise before, Europe has the leading policies in circularity in the world. We are front runners creating a circular business model. But because of that as well, we are attracting other regions that are as well in the circularity journey to our market, right? So I think, you know, if I may summarize what the team in PETCORE here is thinking, the three priorities are to put very high-level priorities, are ensuring enforceability of imports, so they're playing with the same cards that we play, right? Because as you said, right, we need to comply with international WTO rules. We cannot close our borders, right? This is a principle as well of how we operate as a European community bloc. Second is getting all the technologies recognized. Thank you so much for the color that you provide to us, that you think that the implementing act of SUPD for PET bottles calculation targets will fly. We hope so as well. We hope so as well. It has been a long journey, 4 years of work together. And then maybe the third one is as well ensuring the, the enforcing of the food contact compliance is very relevant as well for the PET industry. Your colleague, of course, Sebastian, will talk more about that. But I love to have seen in your slide, in the closing takeaways, it's about competitiveness, it's about business case. I love it because this industry is already using in Europe data from last 2025, 26% of recycled PET. So we are meeting the target of SUPD, which is as well reinforcing the necessity of the targets. The targets are driving investments. The targets are driving certainty of the market pool. And the targets are crucial to unlock that business growth to happen. I just want to reinforce that for this industry, that's absolutely a must. So with that background, I have maybe 3 comments. One is a comment that is in the chat. Can you provide a little bit more color, or how really do you see, because you indicated a timeline for the implementing act for PPWR recycled plastics content target rules, and it's a very tight timeline, right? So I think you indicated 3rd quarter this year, proposal, 4th quarter, potential adoption and vote. How realistic do you think is this timeline? Of course, it is what it is written in the PPWR, but really, on your perspective, would you think that this is viable? We are open, of course, to cooperate with you to make that happen, but we think it's tight. We hope that this is coming as well sooner rather than later, but can you provide a little bit of more color of that? Because we need to have new discussions on the rules that the packaging market will need, that not necessarily will need to be the ones that PET market needs.
Yeah. Well, we are, as I showed at least on the slide on your last question, very already engaged in the preparatory work for it. But as I said also already, we are in this changing environment, or we are talking about moving targets. On the one hand, we have to comply with what is hopefully tomorrow voted and adopted, so that this new approach with this geographical OECD approach based on reports from the waste shipment regulation, which are already there. So we also have to balance out, on the one hand, in what sense this new approach can help us on the packaging. On the other hand, packaging has more elements, like, for instance, the mirror clause and the sustainability criteria, which would also can help us. And now the third thing is that it is a meaningful act, or 3 meaningful acts, but not creating this administrative monsters. Also, when it comes to third-party certification or audits and all these things, this is also to be balanced out. And all this against, in the end, let's say the bold statement from some third country exporters who say, okay, whatever you install on Article 7, we will come up with it even quicker than you require it, and and in the end it might be even cheaper for them to certify it. So this is a little bit our not dilemma, but the delicate situation, the environment in which we have to produce these. Therefore, I will not bet that we will be in time, to put it like that.
But hopefully we are in time, right? I mean, the industry is ready to
Yeah,
help,
we are doing
to
all
help in
and,
this journey, right? But we understand it's tight.
We created this task force within the member states, because in the end we have, of course, first of all, have to have the support from the member states on the sustainability criteria. I think they also went back to you. We have the support from JRC, so we are on track if all things go right, but we can never exclude that in the end, in an open consultation, or there is a hiccup, and even if we internally, if I get it through with DG Trade, with DG Grow and so on, then there is still this complication that sometimes you have also diverging industry interests, and this is really what you said. You are supporting the act tomorrow, but of course your clients, who are also already those who buy who incorporate the fillers, the brands, they of the bottles, they say, okay, but that means I have to pay more, and therefore they are lobbying small member states against us.
Yes. Just before you close, Antonio, because I know you want to close. So thank you. I mean, because the question was, I mean, is chemical recycling going to be recognized for PPWR targets? The answer is yes. It's a matter of implementing to define the rules that we are targeted to come by end of this year, just for the sake of being clear. Thank you so much. I have zillions of more questions, but we don't have more time.
No, because we have another person connected from Brussels.
Okay.
Sorry?
A quick question.
Please.
Yeah. First of all, very quickly, we are happy to have Wolfgang with us in Rome. Why? Because his unit has been dealing with many things at the same time. So his time is really valuable, and happy to have you here. Because the devil is in the detail, I would say that industry, from the producers to the users, because PETCORE covers everyone, we need to have a long-term visibility. Every segment needs to have a long-term visibility. So we speak about circular economy. We need to know, what does that mean? Is the circular economy means we collect something here, we export it by boats somewhere else, we get it recycled, and put it back to put it in our new bottles? Is that the circular economy that we're discussing and the targets are? Or we are discussing about, because for the time being it's much better to produce outside, much cheaper, and the local industry is not surviving. So definitions are important.
Just to support Hermes, then we have to connect with Diego Modenesi from Olaf, that we got that a plant that has been shut down in the Netherlands is now dismantled and reassembled in Oman, just to start producing again. So this is a clear example of delocalization that is happening in Europe. Thanks so much. Many questions, Wolfgang. You will stay here with us also tonight, so we'll discuss later. Let's now connect with, thanks to all of the panelists, but we have now to connect with Diego Modenesi from the Olaf office. So let's see if the connection. Bene, Diego. Sorry, I'm very sorry for the late, for the delay of today. But you see, when you start discussing about all the incoming legislation, there are more questions than minutes available. Diego, just introduce yourself, and you are on the stage.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting also for me to follow this discussion. My name is, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, my name is Diego Modonesi. I'm head of sector in Olaf, the European Anti-Fraud Office, dealing with the customs and the trade investigations. So I'm going to make a short presentation today, and I will address the question, what is Olaf and what is its role in the fight against fraud. So I will try to start now the presentation. should be able to see it, I hope. So I will try to address this question, the role of Olaf, through 6 different points. I will go through them. Olaf staff and powers, the mission of Olaf in the field of protection of financial interest of the European Union, our procedures, our partners, how to report a fraud to Olaf, to the anti-fraud office, our recent results, and some short takeaways. So first of all, I will start with the organigram that is actually already old because our new Director General arrived just on Monday. So in this organigram, there is the previous one. As you can see, there are 4 directorates in Olaf operating in different fields in the expenditures side, but also in the revenue side. And I'm in one of those operating on the revenue side. So on the second column, on the B directorate. Plus, we also have other services of support, legal resources, and especially IT. Our staff includes officials with different level, different degrees of expertise. In Olaf, we have also some lawyers, former prosecutors, judges, police officials. I'm a former customs official, as well as most of the colleagues working in my unit. Then in other units, of course, we have also other specialists related to their own background. For instance, data specialist, data analyst, and so on and so forth. But what are the powers of Olaf, and what can Olaf do, and what is the role of Olaf that could be, and in which sense, in which terms the role of Olaf could be interesting for you? Well, first of all, it is important to stress the fact that Olaf is an administrative body. So we are not a police body, and we are not a judicial authority. We don't have powers to prosecute. We don't have powers of audit either. In this sense, our role and our job is completely different from the European Court of Auditor. We don't, most of the times, we don't have direct powers vis-a-vis member states, but indirect powers. We can issue, for instance, recommendations that are very important, and they are taken very seriously from the member states, especially when we recommend to recover amounts that were not paid at customs. So we have an important role in the redetermination of the fiscal amounts due, or on the possibility for national authorities to follow up these amounts. Although we cannot redetermine them ourselves, and we cannot impose sanctions ourselves. Recommendations that we issue are different. Can be disciplinary recommendation in case of breach of staff regulations, ethical rules. Of course, this is not my field of expertise. This is not my job, because my unit works essentially with customs authorities or with VAT authorities at member state level. So we rather issue financial or judicial recommendations. We can issue also administrative recommendation requesting to other departments, directorate generals of the European Commission to modify the existing rules, because and to create and to enforce rules in a way that are more in line with the in a perspective of anti-fraud prevention or fight. So our mission is threefold, because of course we protect the financial interest of the European Union, so the budget of the European Union, but we also have the capacity, and we do collaborate and we do cooperate also with VAT authorities. We protect also the reputation of the European institutions. In the past, there were important Olaf cases also against commissioners, for instance. And we support the European Commission in the development and implementation of the fraud prevention and detection of the policies. We are around 300, 350 officials with, as I said before, different background coming from customs, especially my unit, but also police in other units, IT experts, and so on and so forth. Therefore, this leads to the following point that are our procedures and partners. What is Olaf? Olaf is an independent office, so technically speaking, is part of the European Commission, but is a Commission service. It's not a Directorate General of the Commission. In this sense, is different, for instance, from DG Trade or DG Competition, Directorate General of Trade or Competition. Our Director General of Olaf, differently than other Director Generals, is appointed in a joint, in a special procedure that involves also the European Parliament, and is appointed for 7 years and is not renewable. And in this sense, is quite different from the other Directorate Generals. We have an operational independence from the Commission. We have our own budget. We have our own IT system. We have also specific dedicated type of controls of our activity with a supervisory committee that is checking what we are doing and how, and we are submitted also to the controller of the procedural guarantees, and we can stand before the Court of Justice. Our territorial competence is more or less in line, of course, with the member states' territory. And of course, we can relate also with the EU delegations and also with the other agencies, institutions, or other bodies that are part of the European Union. Our unit, in particular, our unit, the unit where I work, also performs missions in third countries based on cooperation and agreements of mutual assistance that are in force with the European Union. And in this sense, we can also go to the premises of companies and operators in third countries to check them, and in a way that is somehow similar to the one of the Directorate General of Trade. And of course, we can also have contact with international organizations. We have a lot of partners, institutions that are also part of the European Union, or they are connected to the European Union, international institutions, and the national institutions. And there is also in each member state an anti-fraud coordination service that is in charge to relate directly to us. Now it comes to perhaps the most interesting part for you, that is the possibility to report a fraud to Olaf. We work a lot also on the basis of information that we receive from third companies, stakeholders, from company stakeholders or associations. And in this sense, I mean, of course, everybody can report to Olaf. Natural legal persons, it is possible also to report in an anonymous way. Of course, more structured is the information that we receive, higher are the chances to work on the information that we get and to also create a case, and subsequently to transmit our findings to the national authorities for possible follow-up. Also, member states are transmitting information to Olaf, and sometimes we open investigations also based on the press or information that we might find on open sources. It's not the unit where I work that is responsible to open the cases. We have an ad hoc unit, department of Olaf that is responsible to select and to decide if the information is well enough structured or promising to open an investigation, because of course we have limited resources. We cannot open investigations on all allegations that we receive, and of course they are a lot. Also, our unit, our sector, the sector where I work, can collect information and can transmit them then to the responsible unit. And normally we work closely with trade associations. We have several meetings during the year, and we have exchange of views. We analyze trade flows. Every member of our unit is responsible for one specific sector, for one specific product. Of goods, and to verify also through electronic means, through our very good databases, the trade flows, and to verify if these trade flows could present or could flag possible risks of fraud. So just to continue on this, this is the internet site of Olaf, and here you can see also that there is a specific point in this internet site where you can communicate, you can send an anonymous information to Olaf. Of course, if this information is done not in an anonymous way, for us is even better, because we can arrange a meeting with a trade source, we can exchange views, and if it's channeled, for instance, through your trade association, for instance, through PETCORE Europe, this would be even easier for us, because we'll ensure that we'll meet the right people, we'll get the right information, and we'll ask the right questions in order to build up our case. So I move now to the next slide, that are our investigation tools. We have very powerful tools. Although we have very limited resources, we cooperate a lot with customs authorities, and a huge percentage, I think more than 50% of the cases that are investigated by customs at the national level are originating from information that ultimately were elaborated by Olaf. So our role, although we are a very small team, especially dealing with customs, because our office, our unit is around 20-25 people, we can give a huge contribution, and we have a very important tools also based on the regulations, and therefore on the current existing legal framework. For instance, we can ask information to the member states. Member states must answer the information that we request. We can have access to several EU databases, and also to several databases that are held by the member states. We can exchange information with partners, with all the associations that we have listed before. We can have access to bank accounts, and also we can request direct information to economic operators, but not only. We can also go on the spot to see economic operators inside the European Union with the same powers of the national administrations, and also outside the European Union, provided that, of course, we have an agreement with the third countries. We can also use forensics, also in the European Union, and for this we don't need an authorization of the judge normally, as well as also bank accounts, the same principle. And we can also do interviews with persons that are concerned. This and this leads to the next point, that are results. This allowed us to bring a lot of results. We issue millions of euros in the past, even in certain occasions, even billions of euros of recommendations that have thoroughly followed up by the member states, especially for customs. And we also send a precautionary measure letters, information to member states concerning not only customs, but also VAT. And also here the amounts are huge. For instance, in 2024, there was an estimated impact of 623 million. So just some takeaways of this presentation. We are part of the European Commission. We are different from Digitrade. In this, we are different from DG Competition. We are different from other commission services. We have also a different frame of activity. DigiTrade and especially the trade defense instrument units of DigiTrade, the anti-dumping, intervene when there is the suspicious of an anti-dumping based on the regulation, and so they intervene to trigger the creation of an anti-dumping regulation. We activate ourselves for the past when we suspect that there was an infringement or a violation of the customs legislation, but in relation of customs declarations that already took place. Normally we go back up to 3 or even 5 years or even more, depending if on the legal framework, basically. And in this sense, our role can be very different and a certain extent complementary with the Director General of Trade. They operate for the future, we operate for the past, and we can trigger recoveries on imports that have already been taken place inside the European Union. We do it, of course, through as an administrative body, and we can do, therefore, autonomous investigations. And maybe the most important point is that your role could be very important. You could give us important and relevant information, significant information. So if you see a trade flow or a competitor or somebody also based on rumors that is doing something illegal, please report to your associations. Please report to Olaf, because this could be very important for us and would give us the possibility to act. So this was the last point. Thank you very much. I'm happy to reply to questions.
Diego, thanks so much for your presentation. Very interesting, that is raising a lot of points that we are going to forward you in writing, because unfortunately we are 20 minutes late and we have other people from Brussels that is going to get connected quite soon. So thanks so much for your time and your presentation, and we stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, so now is time for the well-deserved lunch break. We have more or less 45 minutes, so let's be here sharp at 2:25. So 2:25 we start with the new presentations.
Next time we need